Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Look, it's Friday afternoon. The hay's in the barn in terms of previewing the games that are coming up this weekend. I thought I'd open up what I think is going to be a very fun conversation, and that is taking a look at what the transfer portal market could look like in the quarterback department. One thing's been made abundantly clear to all of us over the last couple of weeks. This is going to be one of the more chaotic off seasons that we've seen in the sport. Right? A lot of head coaches are going to be on the move, which means a lot of coordinators are going to be on the move, which means a lot of quarterbacks very well could be on the move. Who are some of the more intriguing and best quarterbacks that could be in the transfer portal market over the next couple of weeks? That's the conversation I want to get into. Now, look, hand up right away. Y'all know this. I ain't no insider. I ain't pretending to be an insider. I'm certainly not trying to spread any rumors. This is a fun conversation where we're looking down the road and trying to project or talk about what we might be seeing in the college football landscape. Open invitation to everybody in the comment section. If I'm forgetting a quarterback that could be in the market, let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the chaos that we're about to see, and I'm not necessarily sure if I enjoy it, but we're going to have a lot to talk about. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let's start with, I think, one of the more fascinating quarterbacks to talk about. That's DJ Lagway. Now, you obviously have a coaching change with Billy Napier. You have DJ Lagway coming off a miserable year. I mean, you talk about the struggles that Florida has had. Like, one of the main reasons has been the play of DJ Lagway, extremely inconsistent, seemingly let's just say it how it is, taking a step backwards from what we saw from him as a true freshman. Here's the conversation with DJ is, number one, who's going to be the next head coach for Florida? And that next head coach, whether that's going to be Coach Strink or Lane Kiffin, they're going to have to make a decision. And that is, DJ Lagway is a wonderfully talented quarterback. I mean, a box checker in every sense of the word. That next head coach is going to have to make the decision. Can I fix DJ Lagway? Can I get the most out of him in 2026? Or do I think he's broken? And do I just want to move on and bring in a quarterback of my choosing? I'll say this. If the next head coach for Florida decides to move on from DJ Lagway, there will be a head coach that wants to bet on him. I'm not sure every head coach is going to go after DJ Lagway because, again, 2025 was ugly from him. These coaches have egos, man. They think they're the best, and I don't blame them for thinking that. There will be a head coach and offensive coordinator that wants to take a crack at unlocking and fixing DJ Lagway, because we all know if you do that, if you get the best version of DJ Lagway, you have a difference maker at the quarterback position. Very, very interested to see the future of DJ Lagway. Number two, how about Lenor Sellers? Very similar conversation, with the caveat being that the struggles that Lenor Sellers has experienced at South Carolina, I think, have a lot to do with what's been around him. The worst offensive line that we see in the Power Four, offensive coordinator that just got fired because they were scoring, believe it's 17.5 points per game, which was dead last in the SEC. Now, the Lenor Sellers very well could go to the NFL draft, and I promise you there will be a lot of NFL teams that want to bet on Lenor Sellers. But the feedback that we get is that maybe the NFL thinks one more year for Lenor at the collegiate ranks would do him very good. With NIL, look, he's going to get paid comfortably whether he stays at South Carolina or he hits the portal. So it makes sense for Lenor Sellers. Now the question is, does he leave South Carolina? I think Shane Beamer's going to have to. Shane Beamer has his work cut out for him. And I would love to hear the South Carolina fans and their opinions, because the way I look at it, if you're Shane Beamer and Lenor Sellers is going into what we think is a contract year, right, where he's making his last impression on the NFL before he enters the NFL draft, he wants to make sure that the situation around him is going to be good. Like, who's my next offensive coordinator going to be if I'm at South Carolina? What's my offensive line going to look like if I come back for one more year? Shane Beamer needs to convince Lenor Sellers that he's going to have the necessary things around him for him to have success in the SEC. And if Shane Beamer can't, and Lenor Sellers does think he needs one more year of college, Lenor Sellers entering the portal would be the most intriguing, in my opinion, the most intriguing player. I don't think there's a quarterback that's more physically gifted than Lenor Sellers across the country in terms of what he can do throwing the football, in terms of what he is as an athlete, and his ability to elevate an offense around him. Here's another interesting name, and I'm not sure if enough people are monitoring what's going on in Lincoln, Nebraska. So Dylan is out for the year with a lower body injury. True freshman TJ Lateef has come in for Dylan. TJ Lateef looks like the truth. Here, the way I look at it is I think Nebraska will need to make a choice. Whether they rock with TJ Lateef, if TJ Lateef continues to play the way he's playing, there's a very good chance Nebraska said, hey, TJ Lateef's the guy for us going into 2026. If that's the case, Dylan's probably hitting the portal. I mean, Dylan's also going into what you would call a contract year 3 of him playing in college football. Last chance to make an impression on the NFL. Does he want to do it at Nebraska? Again, there needs to be some more things that play out within Nebraska's quarterback room. But I'll say this, it's either Dylan or TJ Lateef. You feel like one of them is probably going to hit the transfer portal. And I think one of those two quarterbacks is going to be very, very intriguing for a lot of college football programs. Last one, that is, not last one. We got plenty to get through. What about Demond Williams at Washington? One of the more, hand up, in my opinion, fun quarterbacks to watch, what he can do with his legs, what he can do as a passer. And then you look at Jedd Fisch and say, look, I get the impression that Jedd Fisch has one foot out the door at Washington. Whether he's going to take the Florida job, whether he's going to take the UCLA job, I feel like the vibe is that Jedd Fisch might not be at Washington at this time next year, which means Demond Williams very well could come on the market. Would Demond Williams follow Jedd Fisch, or would he want to hit the open market, where I promise you the market for Demond Williams is going to be legit? You have a couple of group of quarterbacks. I want to talk about the backups. How about Kenny Minchey? From everything we heard coming out of Notre Dame is that quarterback battle between CJ Carr and Kenny Minchey was very, very tight. In fact, one thing that we do know is that Kenny Minchey finished above Steve Angeli in the quarterback battle going back to spring. Steve Angeli ended up transferring after the spring, went to Syracuse and played damn good football before the injury. What I'm trying to say is that if you beat out Steve Angeli, who played well at Syracuse before the injury, and you were neck and neck with CJ Carr, who looks to be like one of the better quarterbacks in the country, chances are Kenny Minchey is pretty damn good. And he's going to have to sit behind CJ Carr another year or go enter his name in the portal and go start somewhere else. I feel like Kenny Minchey is very, very loyal to Notre Dame, but at the same time, he's going to be going into year 4. And you kind of want an opportunity to show what you can do as a starter. Potentially very popular name. And again, are there some risks there? Because you don't really know what Kenny Minchey is as a starting quarterback. Yeah, sure. But if you read through the tea leaves and say, beat out Steve Angeli in the spring, damn close to beating out CJ Carr this year in the fall, chances are Kenny Minchey can play. Another very similar situation is Lincoln Kienholz at Ohio State. He's a redshirt sophomore, got beat out by a redshirt. It's actually the identical situation between Kenny Minchey and CJ Carr and Lincoln and Julian Sain. Very similar conversation as well, where it sounded like that quarterback battle was pretty freaking close. It sounded like at times Lincoln Kienholz had the edge over Julian Sain. You're telling me Lincoln and Julian were neck and neck. Julian looks to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Chances are Lincoln Kienholz can play too. And the extra benefit you get from Lincoln is that got to work 3 years under Ryan Day. Like that, I want my quarterbacks who've worked with Ryan Day for the last 3 years. Chances are he's going to be pretty damn developed as a quarterback. Really, I remember this kid coming out of South Dakota, really, really talented kid. All the traits in the world. You just weren't sure how long it was going to take for him to make the jump from South Dakota high school football to the Big Ten. He's 3 years in now. Chances are he's made that jump. I think he probably can be a starting quarterback at a high Power 4 program. Got a couple of, a CJ Bailey, who is a second-year quarterback for NC State, this NC State offense putting up points, man. Dave Dorn and the future of Dave Dorn is a little bit under question. 6'6", 210, 70% completion percentage, 9.1 average depth of target, obviously can move. There's a very good chance he just stays at NC State. I mean, he's got some really good pass catchers around him, but if Dave Dorn's on his way out, I promise you there will be some teams contacting CJ Bailey. He can play. How about, and I'll say this, I've only watched 2 games of Drew Mestemaker from North Texas. I mean, he's putting up numbers, 2,700 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 69% completion percentage, 19 big-time throws. And he never started at the high school ranks, walked on at North Texas, a redshirt freshman, absolutely slinging the pill. The question here is, you're jumping up from North Texas to the Power 4 ranks. He's got a really, really good head coach who I know can develop quarterbacks and Coach Moore, so maybe he just wants to stay with Coach Moore's. He's another one of those cats that I promise you Power 4 programs will be quietly reaching out to him, if not have already reached out to him. How about, and USC fans, if you are listening 13 minutes in or 12 minutes in, I would like some opinions here. What does USC do at quarterback next year? Because Jaden's got one more year of eligibility, but you got a really, really talented true freshman, Hassan Longstreet. Jaden has, I guess the storyline is I'm not sure if Jaden has played himself into an NFL draft pick, but he certainly played himself into the opportunity to start for USC again in 2026. Then Lincoln Riley's got to make the decision, hey, do I want to give Jaden one more year and sit Hassan Longstreet on the bench for one more year, or do I make the change to Hassan Longstreet, Jaden hits the portal? We'll see. I guess one of my takeaways here is that it feels like one of those 2 quarterbacks, there's a chance that might end up in the portal because you feel like both of them are going to be starting caliber quarterbacks in the 2026 year. Last one, and they're just this kid hits the portal, there's going to be a lot of money thrown at him. Jaron Kiave Sagaputele. Obviously was committed to Oregon, enrolled with Oregon, decided to hit the portal, came back to Cal. I mean, this kid, arguably from a pure arm talent standpoint, from there's maybe not a quarterback better in terms of just making high-level throws. Now, he is still a freshman gunslinger that's going to put the ball in harm's way, but holy smokes does this kid make some high-level throws into some tight windows. There will be a lot of coaches that want to build their offense around this talent because you have the whole playbook open to you. You can ask him to make any throw on the football field. Does he want to stay at Cal? That's another situation where I promise you there's a lot of Power 4 programs that would be willing to pay him some big-time dollars to come play quarterback for them in 2026. And that's just the start. I mean, there's a lot of really quality quarterbacks out there, and as you see the coaches start taking jobs elsewhere, names are going to be on the table. Last year we didn't get the quarterback movement that we thought. And this, again, still a really good quarterback. I mean, John Mateer has really helped that Oklahoma offense. Fernando Mendoza to Indiana, Darian Mensah to Duke. You saw some quarterbacks move that are difference makers, just not as many as we thought. Feels like this year, you're going to see a lot of really good quarterbacks looking for a new home. We'll see which ones decide to do it. We'll pause it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.